Hello friend, this is Ryan Hicks of TaughtToProfit.com, and today I want to talk to you about how to tell if an ICO is a scam or not. Obviously, this is not going to guarantee an ICO is not a scam, but this is just some basic things for you to look if you're considering investing in an ICO, things to consider, and things that can make you back away from something immediately if you see some of these problems. One of the first things is the team is a marketing team. There's no actual developers behind it, or even worse, they're anonymous. Now I say that cautiously because we don't know who Satoshi Nakamura is. We don't know if he's a male or a female, so we don't know who created Bitcoin. So he's anonymous, or she or they are anonymous basically. But the one variable, and this is another point, is that their code is open source. Everybody can examine Bitcoin, they can check the code, they can see, is there some back way for the developer to take everybody's coins? Is there some tricks involved? Can it be easily hacked? It has been gone through time and time again and has been deemed secure by numerous people and is used, and we see today the results of it. So anonymous doesn't necessarily mean bad, but today people need to not be anonymous. When Satoshi was doing this and creating this, he didn't know what was going to happen. Was the government going to come down upon him? Was he going to be arrested and tried? Was something going to happen? He had no idea. Today we know there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of cryptocurrencies out there that are active. No one's concerned about that anymore. They don't need to be anonymous unless they're trying to hide something. The governments aren't cracking down on people creating cryptocurrencies. That's not a problem anymore. So the need for the developer to be anonymous doesn't exist anymore. Or at least it's very minimized, because we know from the track record of Bitcoin and all these other cryptocurrencies that that's not a big issue anymore. Another thing to look at is the ICO white paper. If you find a white paper that has tons of misspellings, grammar problems, things that do not even make any sense, duplicate sentences, paragraphs that are the same, all this kind of stuff, you may say, well, that doesn't really matter. That's just getting into nitpicking. No. If they have that lack of attention to detail on the forward-facing thing they're putting out for people to read and to learn about their project, if they can't even have attention to detail with that, how do you know the code's secure? How do you know anything else they're doing is going to be done well when they don't do the basic things well? That is something very, very concerning. It may not mean the ICO is a scam. It may not mean that it's going to be terrible, but it shows they need some serious work. Now, this is going to be a little controversial, but pre-mining. Pre-mining doesn't necessarily mean there's anything bad going on, but when the pre-mining or the way everything is set up in such a way to mainly benefit the developers, the creators, the founders, that is something to be cautious about. Because oftentimes those ICOs are pump and dump. The developers get all these coins, they dump them on the market, and then the price drops down. There's no one else to buy it because no one else wants that. It's something to be very cautious of. That doesn't mean that the developers do not deserve a reward for their efforts. Of course they do. So pre-mine is not bad, but it is how it's done. Is it done in secret to hide from the public? Is it done kind of trying to trick people? Those are things to be really cautious about. But if they're plain out in the open saying, hey, we're going to have 1 million coins going to our developing team of 16, and they're each getting this amount, that could be all right. But it just completely depends on how it's being done and how much the developers are actually getting. So if they're giving themselves 1 million coins and they're only releasing 2 million, that's kind of concerning. But if they're giving themselves 1 million coins, there's going to be 100 million coins. That's understandable, and that's more reasonable, especially depending on the coin's value. The value that those individuals are getting worth of coins for their effort is not a bad deal, and they do deserve that. Now, one of the more basic things, and this doesn't mean that the ICO is necessarily a scam, is that it's just something calling itself blockchain and needing blockchain for no reason. It doesn't need blockchain to do what it's doing. And there are tons of those out there that do not have any real need for blockchain. They're just piggybacking on the ICO craze and the blockchain interest to sell their product or to get raise more money for their particular product or brand. Those are not worth getting into. Those fall and fail miserably, and oftentimes they're just a flat-out scam. Another thing that could indicate a scam is a really long ICO period. So you can start buying in, and they'll end the buy-in over a year's time or something really, really long. Why would they need to drag it out that long? This oftentimes is a scammer trying to buy time. So they make a really extended long time, and then they finally release the code and start developing or getting the final touches on the development done. By that time, they've already run off with the money, and since they've had a year-long time to plan and get away, and people have still been putting money in. Avoid those kind of things. You'd be better off in those situations to watch when it launches. Yes, you're not going to get in at the best price, but watch when it launches, see how it actually does. Does it actually live up to its promises? Because really, really long ICO periods is something to be very cautious of, and it's very suspicious. Now, they may have a very justified reason for it. They need this longer period to raise the funds, and they will close it early if they reach a certain amount of funds. That's perfectly fine. But if they have an open-ended, we're going to raise funds for 1 year, and there's no limit to it, there's something wrong there. And you need to really be cautious about what you're doing. Another thing is if the ICO is an MLM, network marketing type thing, where they're trying to get you to pump a bunch of people in there with their money, and then they're going to pay you a percentage on that, and they promise really huge payments, really huge interest every day based on nothing. They're basically Ponzi schemes. Now, this is not all of them. There are a number of different companies out there doing something based on that, but some of them have algorithms, they have trading platforms, they have lending platforms, things like that, and they might be fine. But there are a number of them coming around. And there's one of them that just came out about a month ago, and it's already gone. It took people's money and already is disappeared. And it was one of these lending type platforms. They're not all scams, but the reality is some of these are you really need to watch them. Do they have any kind of track record? If they're just coming out of nowhere, how do you know they're going to be around? How do you know anything they're promising is actually legit? And there are other ones that have been around for a lot longer that may actually be all right because they've at least shown stability and that they've existed for long enough time. But there are a lot of these ICO, MLM type setups that are coming out, and they have no track record. They got a team of marketers, and they have no one that has any real interest in blockchain. It's just to simply get enough people pumping money in there, referring a bunch of people to it, and then they close up shop and run away with your money. And the last and final thing is this, and this is not scientific, but this is just something you need to follow. Go with your gut feeling. If your instinct is something seems wrong about this, something seems off, even though you don't mentally know what is actually off, what's wrong, just back off from that. Don't go against your conscience. Use your wisdom and use your brain as much as you possibly can. But in some cases, you're not going to be able to tell because the scammers are not just announcing with a flashing banner on their site, hey, we're scamming you. So if something seems off, the promises are too great, it's the old, if it's too good to be true, it probably is. If there's all these things and you just have a gut feeling, that inward feeling, something's not right here, or maybe not even that, just I shouldn't invest in this, then just move on to something else. There are hundreds of other ICOs coming out. There's something for you. Don't go against your conscience. Make sure you go with that. So my friend, I pray this was a blessing for you. Hope this will help you make a better informed decision if you decide to participate in ICO. Obviously, I'm not suggesting you do that. This is up to you, but this is just to help you, if you're considering it, to have a little basis to go on when examining some of these ICOs and determining which you should actually invest in and which you should avoid at all costs. May God bless you richly.